So, welcome to LiberalViewer Wednesday live. I'm glad to see that I've got some people waiting to ask questions, but I also wanted to start by getting to some of the questions that people asked during the week for me to answer. So, the first question I got during the week to answer during LiberalViewer Wednesday live came from Locklung Ring. Question for Wednesday. You spoke last week about writing a brief in defense of the KKK's right to free speech with the ACLU. Do you find it difficult to remain neutral when called upon to stand for the rights of groups, individuals who you may not agree with? Before I answer that question, let me check. Can everybody hear me? Everybody hear me out there? Can I get some comments saying that you can hear me? I think everything's working. I'm getting all good. Let's see. Any comments saying you can hear me? Okay, all right. So to answer the question from Lachlan Ring, who's in Brisbane, Queensland, one of my Australian viewers, I talked about last week that I wrote this brief for the KKK's right to advertise on a government radio station. It was a public radio station in Missouri. And the brief was saying that just because we disapprove of their speech, or a lot of people disapprove of their speech, I personally disapprove of their speech, but the government can't make content-based decisions on who to allow to advertise on government radio stations. So I wrote that brief to the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals, which covers Missouri. And to answer the question, first specifically on that case, I did feel kind of guilty about writing an amicus brief in favor of the KKK's position, although you should know an amicus brief is a friend of the court brief, meaning you're not representing any party, you're trying to say something to help the court. And there was an important principle there, but because I felt guilty, I actually that year that I wrote that brief, I donated money to the Southern Poverty Law Center that I thought was about equal to the amount of money my legal services were worth on that case. When the Southern Poverty Law Center is this group that watches hate groups in the United States and fights them. They actually bankrupted this hate group, I think in Idaho a few years back, with a lawsuit that because of their involvement in violating other people's rights. So at least on that case, I did feel kind of guilty. And, I was a public defender for 5 years. And some of the people I represented as a public defender were, hard to like in some ways and in a lot of ways. But one reason I was a public defender is because I have this strong belief that every human being deserves to be treated with respect and dignity. And that's an easy principle to uphold when you're dealing with nice people. But when you really test that principle is when you're dealing with the people who aren't so nice. And it's those people, it doesn't mean that those people don't get punished for their wrongdoing, but they need to be treated with respect and dignity in the legal system, which means that we respect people's rights. They have a right to counsel and they have a right to due process, even if they've done horrible things. And so I believe in that principle. And so even when the people I was representing were sometimes hard to like or were actually very unlikable people, I could find some principle that I was upholding, and the whole criminal justice system wouldn't work without people representing those accused of crimes. And a lot of people, this week, last Monday was the 50th anniversary of the Gideon decision, Gideon versus Wainwright, the U.S. Supreme Court decision that said that the right to assistance of counsel in the Bill of Rights means not just that you have the right to hire a counsel, but if you're too poor, that the government has to provide a counsel for you. And basically that decision created public defender system, or some states already provided counsel, but that made it a federal right to have a court-appointed attorney. And that is really important because the criminal justice system, the government has so many resources to prosecute you, and if you don't have an appointed attorney, I mean, Gideon was a guy who was convicted without an attorney, and after the Supreme Court case, he went back and had an attorney, and he was acquitted. So just the case itself shows that the assistance of an attorney can really make a difference. Oh, I should go back to my camera here. I guess I have that thing up the whole time. So let me see. I have a couple other questions that are all set up to answer. What is the... This one came from Leroy J. Johnson. Question for Wednesday. What are your thoughts on the NYPD stop and frisk policy? Do you think this policy will be stopped by the courts? Well, having just talked about being a public defender, this kind of is a good segue into, I mean, the criminal justice system. Let me go back to my camera here. And for those who don't know what's going on, the New York City Police Department has this policy of stopping and frisking way too many people. To stop and frisk someone, according to the Terry decision by the U.S. Supreme Court, you're supposed to have a reasonable suspicion that criminal activity is afoot. And, I mean, that's what the Supreme Court said, afoot, I guess. And the one here, let me put up this picture of the ACLU website here on the Stop and Frisk campaign. And you can find this really easily at nyclu.org. It says an analysis by the NYCLU revealed that innocent New Yorkers have been subjected to police stops and street interrogations more than 4 million times since 2002, and that Black and Latino communities continue to be the overwhelming targets of these tactics. And this is the important part. Nearly 9 out of 10 stop and frisk New Yorkers have been completely innocent. 90%. More than 90%. So if the legal standard is a reasonable suspicion and you're wrong 90% of the time, I think that shows that the police are going way out of bounds and they're just stopping people based on impermissible factors. So, I'm looking right into the camera and giving this heartfelt argument, and I don't even have the camera turned on. So that's my answer to that question. And one of the cool things I noticed the New York Civil Liberties Union is doing is they've created this app for iPhones and for Android phones, and it lets you video the police when they're behaving badly and submit it for review to the New York Civil Liberties Union. In fact, they have a 30-second video on YouTube. I'm going to play it. I wanted to see if I could play videos on YouTube here, or on a YouTube live event. So let me see if this works here. I'm going to...
Shit. I can record a cop fucking, Why
don't you go right to the
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. Record and report NYPD misconduct using the NYCLU Stop and Frisk app. They're watching us, now we can watch them. Now available for iPhone. Visit iTunes. So that's kind of cool. Oh wait, it's going over and over again. Okay, so let me go back to here. I need to drink a little bit of water. I think I'm almost out of my preloaded questions. I think I may have a couple more here. Is this the one? Oh yeah, this is from Anthony Byrne. This was just like earlier this afternoon. As personalities like Piers Morgan have been flooding the media with talk about assault weapons bans and the AR-15s, they only passingly mentioned anything about mental health care options. What practical options are available there, and are you frustrated that it can't seem to get any significant airtime? I'm not sure when I saw this comment whether which side Anthony Byrne was taking on mental health. Whether, let me go back to my camera here. Whether he's saying that he thinks that the, some people are saying that people with mental illnesses need to register and we need to track them. And I think that is kind of a civil liberties issue, a problem. I even I made a video about the whole gun control issue a little while back, and there's a clip in there from George Will on This Week with George Stephanopoulos talking about how the civil liberties implications of trying to track all the people who fit the profile of these shooters, who are like young white men who have mental illness problems, is probably too much. That's not really going to happen. Yeah, here, let me. This is my video, Gun Control or God Control. It's actually one of the longest videos I've ever made, even though my commentary is pretty short because I have all these great clips from Wayne LaPierre and how crazy he is, and then from a whole bunch of pundits and from Barack Obama. I uploaded this back on December 23rd. You can find this on my channel. And on the whole mental illness issue, one of the things I think people have this misperception that based on these mental illnesses of these shooters, that people who are mentally ill are more prone to violence, and that's actually not true. It's more the exception than the rule. In fact, there's a lot of statistics showing that people with mental illnesses are much more likely to be the victims of violent crimes and the perpetrators. When I was a public defender, I dealt with a lot of people with mental illnesses, and it can be a sad situation. And my experience is that most of those people weren't violent people. I was dealing with them for misdemeanor kind of problems, and homeless people often have mental illnesses. And one of the problems with mental illnesses these days is the austerity, the budget cuts that have been coming during this the Great Recession. They've hit state and local governments really hard, and the federal government hasn't given a lot of aid to the state and local governments. And when state and local governments take a lot of cuts, then one of the first places they cut is like the county mental health services. And so there are a lot more people on the streets who aren't getting services and who are ending up in jails instead of getting those county services. So it is a big problem, but I don't really think that it's that related to the gun issue. I don't think that registering people with mental illnesses is really a solution to the gun problem, although I think it is part of the universal background checks that there are certain people who have been found to be a danger to themselves or others, and then they probably should be not allowed to buy a gun when they go through the background check. But anyway, so that's my answer to that question. And I think I had one more preloaded comment here from posted over on my Facebook page. Terry Alther posted 2 comments saying, "Do you think Democrats and progressives should speak out more on Obama's drone policy?" I saw this vid where Jank congratulates 8 progressive Democrats for doing so, and then he also links to an article. I know about that letter from, I think it's 8 members of the Progressive Caucus in the U.S. Congress who wrote this letter. I actually read that letter, I think it was, March 11th when it came out, because I'm on a bunch of email lists. And, it was much more comprehensive than what Rand Paul did, but it got a lot less coverage. I'm not sure why it is that the media doesn't want to cover progressives. And it also raised a bunch of important issues about the drone program that the ACLU has also raised in its response to some of what the Obama administration is doing. I wanted to put up, this is from the progressive Democrats in the Progressive Caucus in the U.S. Congress. They wrote this letter, and they said that they had 5 areas, and these are really the 5 key areas in the drone program. One is the unbounded geographic scope of the drone program. Are we at war in the whole world? I mean, is the whole world the battlefield? That's one of the problems. So, 2, unidentified high-level officials with authority to approve kill lists. I mean, that's the whole process. The Obama administration had said that they're giving due process in the executive branch, without any judges, without really even any oversight by Congress. And that's not what due process means to me. So that's a problem in number 2 there. 3, a vaguely defined definition of whether a capture is feasible. That's one of the things this leaked memo said, was that they only use drones when capture isn't feasible, but the definition is really broad, so it gives them a lot of too much latitude. And then 4, an overly broad definition of the phrase imminent threat, which redefines the word in a way that strays significantly from its traditional legal meaning. I talked about this in a previous LiberalViewer Wednesday, that, the imminent threat definition in the leaked memo basically applies to anyone who might be planning something sometime in the future, and that's not what imminent is supposed to mean. Imminent is supposed to mean it's about to happen. And I could see a little bit of broadening, but the way it was in that memo is just gives them way too much power. And then the number 5 thing is the suggestion that killing American citizens and others would be legitimate under the authorization for use of military force and the inherent right to national self-defense. And that's kind of where the Rand Paul filibuster was focused on the killing of Americans, especially on American soil. And and that is one important issue, but there are these other ones that are also important, whether they apply to American citizens or anybody else. Let me go back to the camera here. I think that is all of the pre-approved questions. Let me see. So I have some good comments here that I can just read from the people who are watching live. Let me see. Alan Kreider asks, how about the new lawsuit about the police accessing cell phones without a warrant? If they've been arrested, I thought once you are arrested, the cops could search your person and your property. Well, and this is something I just posted on my Facebook page. The ACLU of Northern California, where I'm proud to volunteer as a member of the board of directors, which is means that I go and attend these meetings in San Francisco every month and help sort of guide the organization, but just as a volunteer, not paid. The ACLU of Northern California just recently filed this lawsuit against San Francisco County and the police department there, saying that they shouldn't be able to search people's cell phones when they arrest you. It's kind of creepy. I've seen this happen in a lot of cases where it's because the law hasn't really caught up to the technology, that when the police arrest you, they can just open up your cell phone and go through everything in there. And the California Supreme Court actually decided that the Fourth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution didn't protect against unreasonable searches and seizures of your cell phone at the time of arrest. And like this person mentioned in the question, let me see, what was the... said, I thought once you arrested, the cops could search your person and your property. Well, what they can do is, when you're arrested, a search incident to arrest allows the police to search you and the area around you where you might be able to reach weapons. And so if you have a cell phone on you, they should be able, for their safety, to, make sure you're not going to hit them with the cell phone. But I think that there should be some greater Fourth Amendment right for them to actually look in your cell phone. And of course, I have a passcode on my cell phone, and everyone put a passcode on your cell phone, because that means they're going to have to get a warrant. Or hopefully it means that, unless they have some cell phone reader technology, which sometimes they do. But anyway, back to this lawsuit. What they're saying is, first, there's a bunch of right to privacy claims, or California Constitution claims, because I actually read the lawsuit briefly, or skimmed it right before this, and they're saying that the California Constitution has broader privacy claims. So they're trying to say, even though the California Supreme Court said the U.S. Constitution's Fourth Amendment doesn't protect this, that the California Constitution's privacy protection should protect it. And it also says that there's a First Amendment issue here, that your freedom of association, because they not only they go through your cell phone and they see everything you said to your friends and your things your friends said back to you. There's all sorts of email. I mean, there's all sorts of confidential and private and associate free speech information on your phone. And so the lawsuit says it violates the First Amendment. It chills your ability to have free speech if you know that if the police stop you, they're going to look at all this stuff. And it also violates the free speech rights of the other people. I think that was my dog barking, of the people who sent you the messages on the phone. So that's what this. I don't, that is my dog Sandy barking for no apparent reason. But anyway, this ACLU lawsuit that was recently filed is going to try to make some good law that the First Amendment protects your free speech rights, not to have the government snooping through your communications on your cell phones when you're just with an arrest. If there's no what are called exigent circumstances, if they have no reason that they're in a hurry to get anything on your phone, they should go get a warrant, or they shouldn't look on your phone. That's what the lawsuit says. Okay, so let me see what else do I have on here. Sir Christopher McFarland asked, you follow Sam Sater of Majority FM? I do. I watch those videos, and I follow him on Twitter. I think Sam Sater may have followed me or subscribed to me a while back, but it's hard to keep track of those things. But I enjoy his commentaries, and he's also kind of like a comedian. He did something with like Janine Garofalo like 10 years ago that I watched that was really funny. I can't remember what it was, but he's not just a political commentator. He also is kind of a comedian, and that's one of my personal interests. I'm a big fan of stand-up comedy. I go and see stand-up comedy in the clubs, and I'm subscribed to the Laugh Factory channel on YouTube. They have a new 2 or 3 minute stand-up clip most days of the week. I always find that interesting, and because I used to be a trial attorney, and I like to watch stand-ups to learn from their delivery method. It's kind of juries don't laugh, but you still have to make a connection with people you're talking to in a way. And I also think that comedians are some of the really good comedians are the truth tellers in our society. It's a great, I don't know if it's an art form or it's a method of free speech, but anyway, so I am a big fan of comedians, and I've also watched Sam Sater's thing. I just tried to. Is there a commercial on this live event? I don't know why that happened, but let me see another question here. Let me see if I can find one. Llama Lord says, care to comment on Harry Reid's refusal to include Feinstein's assault weapon ban? Well, it has to do with the power of the NRA and lobbying, and the way the Republicans have put this 60-vote limit on everything that goes through the Senate, although in this case, this probably would have been something that would have been filibustered anyway, but I've said in that video that I talked about, the gun video, that I'm not really a big fan of guns, and I'm not really a big fan of gun control. I think that guns are overrated, that the right to bear arms is an overrated civil liberty because it doesn't really protect that much. I think people who think it's protecting them from the government are misinformed, and the people who think it's giving them a right to self-defense, in some situations that may be true, but the statistics show that on on average, it turns out not to be true. That guns tend to hurt their owners and people in their households a lot more than they're used in self-defense. At least that's what I've seen. Uh, but the assault weapon ban itself isn't the greatest piece of legislation. I think overall it's better than that it helps more than it hurts, but I don't know if it's the whole thing is kind of muddled. I mean, that's not really the best way to. I think that instead of coming up with all these weird categories of weapons and whether they have like certain little features on the weapon, they should be. What should be regulated is how fast the guns fire and how big the magazines are that hold the bullets, and that's about. I mean, they should be slower and have to be required to reload more often. But the way this one's written, it's really complicated, and so I think what they're trying to do is get the universal background checks and the limit on capacity of magazines to pass by giving up on the big complex assault weapons ban that I think is better than not passing, but it really has some doesn't really regulate exactly what it should be regulating. Okay, well, can you show us your dog? Asks Whole Grain. Let's see. Well, I could call the dog real quick. Sandy, come here, Sandy. Sandy, come here. Let's see if Sandy comes. I don't know. Was that too loud? Sandy, come here. Here, they want to see you. Let me see if I can turn this. Let's see, Sandy, can you say hello to the people? Oop. I don't know if that worked. Did you see Sandy? Yes, I think you got a good shot of Sandy. Okay. So, my aim is to please. You got to see Sandy. What a cute dog. Yes, what a cute dog. Like, show them how cute you are. I guess it didn't really. Sandy, look at the camera. Look at the camera, Sandy. Oh, what a cute dog. What a cute dog you are, Sandy. There, that's a good shot of Sandy. Okay. So, and then someone asked you stigmatize pit bulls. Oh, the buttface112211 asked you stigmatize pit bulls. Well, I think Sandy may actually be partly pit bull. We actually were trying to. Sandy was adopted from a rescue. She was going to be euthanized someplace in San Bernardino, California, which is in Southern California, and they thought she was pregnant, and so they found someplace in Northern California that would take her, and so we adopted her in December, and we've had her for a few months, and we're happy with her. And I think she may be part pit bull, but before that, we tried to adopt we saw this pit bull rescue place, and we couldn't find a dog that they thought was a good fit for our house, or I don't know. I heard some people get rejected by these adoption services. I don't know if we were actually rejected, but anyway, no, I don't stigmatize pit bulls. So, to answer that question, I think I am almost at 30 minutes for Liberal Viewer Wednesday Live. One thing I wanted to let you all know is next week, Liberal Viewer Wednesday Live is on my birthday, and so I'm going to be out of town. I'm actually going to be in San Diego on like a trip, a vacation. It's also the 20th anniversary of when I met my wife in San Diego, so we're going down there for a trip. And but I'm going to try to do Liberal Viewer Wednesday Live next week anyway. Maybe just for 15 minutes, I don't know. You could catch me under the influence of some intoxicating substance. I don't know. It's possible. Will that increase viewership? You'll have to let me know. But anyway, if I'm supposed to have internet access there, so I'll still be doing Liberal Viewer Wednesday Live on my birthday, March 27th at 4:30 p.m. Pacific. And I just wanted to let you know where you can ask me questions during the week if you want, because I think I spent about the first 20 minutes answering questions that have been asked during the week, because I can give you good answers better researched answers. So you can ask me questions for Liberal Viewer Wednesday at facebook.com/liberalviewer or twitter.com/liberalviewer. And I hope to see you all next week on my birthday for Liberal Viewer Wednesday Live.